Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senior Vice President and General Manager End User Computing, VMware, Shankar Iyer.
Thank you. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, that's good. Hope you had your coffee today. You're in for an exciting ride. The next hour, we're going to talk about the digital workspace and end-user computing at VMware. And it's an exciting time for me because I get a chance to meet many of our customers in Europe. I've met quite a few already in my last couple of days here and spent a lot of time talking about your transformations, the digital transformations you're going through, leveraging Workspace ONE. And it's delightful to see the stories I'm seeing. And we're going to talk about a couple today in the keynote, but it's really, really exciting to see these transformations come to life because that's where technology has its biggest impact. Now, some of you are starting the journey with us. Some of you have begun, some of you are halfway, but it's so gratifying to earn your trust in the technology that we built with Workspace ONE. And for that, I'd like to thank all of you here. It's a unique opportunity to have many of our customers in one room, and what a full room it is. I can barely see you because of the lights, but I can see quite a bit under the horizon. So thank you so much. Thank you for participating in this journey with us. And it's my privilege and honor to share some of the innovations we are going to unveil at the conference, some of the stuff that we've recently introduced with you today. So it's been an incredible year for us. Last quarter, we reported a 90% growth in Workspace ONE customers, a 2x growth in some of our new services like Horizon Cloud, 85% growth in actually activations where customers are using Workspace ONE, and it's been a fantastic journey. And I think the reason we're seeing this kind of growth is because we're making a fundamental impact on workforce transformation, which is a key to digital transformation. At the heart of workforce transformation is this one thing that has surfaced repeatedly over the last 12 to 18 months, and it's something that we call digital employee experience. It's become so fundamental to workforce transformation, and recently we did a survey of about 6,400 end users and IT professionals. Sanjay Poonen actually alluded to it today. He showed some more stats, and here's another statistic that basically says that 73% of organizations or employees in organizations agree that digital employee experience is a major influencer to retain and attract talent, which is important for most industries, most companies, and most geographies today. So we asked some of these respondents as to what do they really mean by digital employee experience? What is it about digital employee experience that makes it so important? Well, it's for these four factors that jumped up. First, many of these respondents said that they want to be able to contribute from day one. Nobody wants to join an organization and be stuck waiting for 2 weeks for a device to arrive. They want to get started right on day one. Second, as we see more and more of the younger demographics come into the enterprise, into these organizations, they want to have choice and flexibility. Choice and flexibility in devices, the kind of form factors and devices, the type of operating systems, the type of user interfaces, choices in apps, and really be able to work from multiple places. The choice and flexibility is important. Third, they want to be able to have secure remote access. Now, security is something, of course, the organization imposes upon the employees, but the employees get it. They know that the organizations need to be secure, given all the concerns about security these days. But they want to be able to still do their work in a fashion that allows them to remote access, and they don't want security to get in the way of their productivity, in their way of using things. So these were the four factors that jumped up when we asked companies about employee experience. So how do you do this? How do you deliver something that meets this criteria and provides that engine of workforce transformation? We believe a platform is required, and that's what we built with the Workspace ONE platform. So let's go through the platform in a little bit more detail before we get to the rest of the presentation. So what we built with Workspace ONE is this multi-layer platform. At the bottom, we have something that we call context. Context is where we can get information and context on all kinds of devices. We've extended that to things like printers and other devices. We live on virtual endpoints, so applications are being delivered on virtual endpoints. We have context on that. we have context on pretty much most kind of apps, whether it's native apps, mobile apps, HTML apps, public SaaS applications, and virtual applications. And by virtue of being the device, we also have incredible context on the network. So what we built essentially is a services-oriented platform that builds on the context. So some of the core and fundamental services of the platform include UEM, or Unified Endpoint Management, include VDI, and some of the newer services like ZeroTrust, Unified App Management, and some of our extensions to partners like Trust Network, some of which we're going to cover today. So we built a rich array of platform services, and we continue to evolve that. You will see us sort of showing innovation on these set of platform services, every year or every other time we talk to you. Now, what we've done on top of that is aggregated all those platform services through a layer of intelligence that we call Workspace ONE Intelligence. So Workspace ONE Intelligence knows about every device, knows about every app, knows how the user is accessing the app on which device. So we have incredible data that we put in a cloud-based intelligence layer to derive insights. And using these insights, we can solve many problems. We've also extended the platform through ecosystem and APIs to connect into ISVs, into OEMs, and several other frameworks, and we'll talk through that today. So that's the Workspace ONE platform for you, and that's the richness upon which we're delivering these phenomenal workspace use cases. Now, when we look at the use cases for Workspace ONE, we've really broken it down into 4 pillars, and we're going to today talk through these 4 pillars. We're going to tell you about the value of each of these pillars, but more importantly, we're going to use this opportunity to unveil a whole lot of innovations across these 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars are employee experience, modern management, virtual apps and desktops, and ZeroTrust Security. And to help me do that, I'm going to invite my colleague and dear friend, Shawn, CTO of End User Computing, on stage. Welcome, Shawn. All right, let's dive right into it. What do you think?
Sounds great.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about employee experience, which is what we started off with. So what we're going to tell you today is the journey of employee experience, and we've broken it down to 3 parts. The first part is day 0. What happens with that employee when they are onboarded onto the company, right? Then we're going to talk about what happens day 2 and beyond. And finally, we're going to talk about offboarding of an employee, where they may sort of leave the corporation, but they fully haven't left the corporation. So we're going to show a lot of exciting innovations, especially in that day 0 and day 2 today, right?
Absolutely.
Take it away.
Thank you, Shankar. So first I want to talk about the journey that got us to where we are today. So over the course of the last year or so, we had introduced Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub. And we've been very busy delivering a unified employee experience that is consistent for each platform. So not just a web-based view of these things, but a native client experience across iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac OS. And we didn't stop there. We integrated things like an enterprise contact directory to allow people to find each other, look at organizational charts, and we've integrated custom notifications and approvals directly into the Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub application. Now, in terms of new updates that you may not be familiar with, we've also introduced a new corporate communications capability, which is great for frontline workers that maybe don't use email. We can send notifications of system outages. We can send notifications about building issues, emergencies that you might either want to passively send to people, or maybe you want them to engage in the communication in order to do things like, the building is on fire. Are you okay? Can you account back to the organization that you're safe? Really important thing to make sure people are engaged and not doing these through mediums like email that are ineffective. We've also done a great partnership with Okta, and the Okta Universal Directory is a great way to tie together multiple different systems of record for different directory services and link those together in a synchronized master universal directory. And last, employee onboarding. Shankar hinted at employee onboarding. We're going to show you some new innovations in employee onboarding that I think you'll be very impressed with. So when we talk about the workspace onboarding experience, we wanted to reimagine what it might look like for an employee to go through that entire life cycle of the process. So starting with day 0 or day 1, before they even join your company, can we simplify the process of how they go from an HR job requisition and a job acceptance all the way to having their devices and having all their applications, choosing their benefits, getting a message from the CEO. And then we've got the day 2 and beyond experience. This is the day in the life of the employee. Things are going to be changing. New applications will get introduced, new trainings, new messages they have to receive from the corporation. So this will change the way that they get self-service into the organization and how they interface with both HR and IT to be more productive at how they do their job. Again, the more that we can deliver self-service means less tickets, less employee touches, better satisfaction, and less overall costs for the business. Now, this virtual assistant we created, we partnered with IBM Watson to integrate their chatbot experience into Workspace ONE. And what I want to do is show you this new experience in action. If we can run the demo.
Meet Nadia. She has just received a job offer from your company. Nadia is prompted to download Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub and is welcomed by her virtual assistant, which is powered by AI. The assistant provides her offer letter and, once signed, helps Nadia to get everything she needs for her first day. The assistant displays her options so she can choose her ideal laptop and accessories, and even an ergonomic desk. She's all set for day one before ever coming to the office. On her first day, Nadia gets a notification from IT stating they're ready for her to activate her full digital workspace. She can simply press Activate to get going. She inputs her IT-assigned credentials, and then Workspace ONE comes to life. She's provided with secure access to the company's intranet site with the latest corporate communications and all of the apps she'll need to do her job. Clicking on the People tab, Nadia can see her manager as well as the rest of the team. At any point in the day, Nadia can click on her virtual assistant and ask questions. It will intuitively connect her to the answers most likely to help. Workspace ONE is consumer simple and enterprise secure. With the new virtual assistant, help is always just a click away. Now let's check in with Nadia's colleague Taylor. The company needs her to travel for a global team summit. She asks her intelligent hub assistant to order a new corporate credit card. The assistant asks Taylor to verify her billing info and to agree to the terms and conditions. The assistant submits an order ticket and a new corporate card is on its way. At the LA office, Taylor tries to access the Wi-Fi but can't. She asks her intelligent hub assistant to help. The assistant requests access to her location to determine where she is. Once provided, the assistant asks if Taylor would like to update her Wi-Fi configurations to get local Wi-Fi access. As she is leaving the office, she sees that another employee has sent over an org update for her approval, which she can also look at and act on. She can even e-sign some documents and approve an employee's PTO request through the click of a button. Workspace ONE. Get productive today.
So you've seen some pretty interesting re-envisioned experiences of how the pre-hire and hire experience and the day two and beyond might be changed. Compare this to your own internal processes of what it might be taking days or weeks to get people onboarded, get their equipment, and then how the person works in a day in the life. Can they actually be productive on their mobile and go through all the things they need to do? Or do they find themselves saying, oh, I'll get to this piece of work when I get back to my computer because I can't easily do it on my mobile? We're about changing a day in the life of our most important resources, which is our people. And speaking of changing a day in the life, how many folks in this room have found themselves forgetting their badge at their desk, leaving it at home, and figuring it out only when you get to the door of your building, and what a horrible experience it is? So, we're changing that experience for our customers, and I'd like to show you how. Let's run the demo.
An employee's day-to-day is made up of physical, technological, and cultural experiences. One common physical experience is access to work, whether a distribution center, retail store, or corporate office. We've all had those days where we can't find our badge, or it isn't very convenient. With Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub and HID, we can put digital access into an employee's favorite tool, their mobile device. With HID card readers, employees can use their phone to badge in, and when verified, access is granted. One of the benefits of a physical badge is the ability for security teams to easily confirm if someone is an employee or not. Intelligent Hub also provides the user a digital ID badge that can be easily shown to security. Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub aligns the digital to the physical workspace, enabling the best employee experience.
So what do you guys think? Pretty impressive? So we're very proud to announce the very industry's first integration of physical security with virtual security by integrating and partnering with HID Global, which is a leader in building access card systems. We think this is going to open up lots of new opportunities, not only for basic building access, but also privilege control and various other scenarios that are still in the innovation pipeline to come in the future. So Shankar, we've shown ways of reimagining the employee onboarding and a day in the life. We showed some new virtual physical security bridge. What do you think of all this innovation?
Fascinating. You know, I could use that electronic badge reader there. I often forget my badge. I have to run back. So let's talk a little bit about IT. We've seen how this has impacted employees, right? From an IT standpoint, I talked to many CIOs, many heads of workspace services within our customer base, and many of them actually tell me that they'd love to deliver a great employee experience, but they need a metric. They need a way to sort of figure out where they are in their journey, what they need to improve, how they're measuring against their counterparts in the industry and their geo. So you can't manage what you can't measure. That's the key thing. And to sort of solve this problem, we recently introduced this concept of what we call digital employee experience management, right? So using our Workspace ONE intelligence layer that I described in the platform, we now have the ability to create a user experience score that tells that particular organization how they're doing on user experience. And it's an average score across every situation we see. So it also tells them how other organizations are doing relative to where they are. Besides that, we're also leveraging our intelligence to provide detailed insights into troubleshooting when an experience doesn't meet up to the norm that the organization is trying to achieve, and provide remedial actions that the organization can do in a proactive way as opposed to a reactive way to solve these problems. Imagine a world where you could not only measure employee experience, but you can actually fix it and get to your goal proactively through policies that you enable inside Workspace ONE. That's what digital employee experience management is. So excited to do that and excited to see this come to life. So before we end employee experience, the last thing I want to cover is talk about our 2019 Employees First Award. As a reminder, we introduced the award last year in both the US and in Europe. And this is given to an organization or customer in each region that's leading the way in driving employee experience for their customer. This year, we're very proud, and I'm personally very proud, to announce the recipient of the award. It is La Poste, and I am delighted. I'm delighted to have Juliette Baudry, Digital Workspace Director, La Poste, join me. While she comes up on stage, let's roll the video.
La Poste organization is in the middle of a great transformation, and the customer is in the center of our strategy to bring services everywhere. We will provide in every postman the ability to interact with all the IT organization.
Pour faire des mises à jour, en plus on savait pas quelle mise à jour vraiment il fallait faire et tout ça. Donc on pouvait mettre facilement une demi-heure, devoir faire toutes les mises à jour, après vérifier si ça fonctionne et puis essayer de partir en tournée avec.
La Poste avait la volonté de déployer cette nouvelle flotte mobile de 70 000 utilisateurs, 70 000 équipements, afin de pouvoir sécuriser ces équipements mobiles et de mettre à disposition de manière automatique, ce qu'on appelle en système push, des applications métiers.
Mobility changes quickly, and we need to stick to a very standard solution. We chose VMware and the Workspace ONE solution.
Donc là où ça nous a amélioré le quotidien, c'est que on arrive, il n'y a plus de mise à jour à faire, donc on est opérationnel tout de suite. On peut partir en vacances pendant 1 mois, 2 mois, et revenir, le téléphone est opérationnel. Et dans ce cas-là, on est opérationnel dès le matin, dès le retour au centre.
A key point of the strategy of La Poste developing new services is depending on whether the customers are happy or not. And we know that if we want happy clients, we need happy employees. So we've put all a management system to concentrate all the organization on that specific purpose.
So Juliette, what a fantastic story. I know today you Juliet and I were just talking earlier today, and she's coming upon a milestone here within a week or so, hitting about 100,000 employees at La Poste are enabled on Workspace ONE, and actually 95% of those are actually mailmen. So it's not even, they haven't reached the white collar workers yet. So that's a fascinating story. Congratulations, Juliet. Thank you so much for the partnership and the learnings that we both gained from each other.
I'm very proud to be here with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Juliet and team. I mean, this is one of the true stories of transformation, and one that goes, beyond sort of, traditional recipients of what the technology provides advantage to. So I'm particularly excited about that. So let's switch gears and talk now about the second pillar of the platform, which is modern management. Modern management is something that we've quite frankly reveled in. We have the broadest sort of management platform across every device, iOS, Android, Windows 10, Mac, Chrome, Linux, IoT, and rugged devices. Sanjay actually covered this. Today, we have the greatest breadth of sort of functionality. We recently were awarded the biggest scores in the Gartner Critical Capabilities report. So thanks for that, Gartner, and we're delighted to be providing this as a solution to our customers. But one of the things that I'm most proud of is the continuous innovation we have in this area. And I'm just going to flash this. These are the sets of innovations we've delivered in modern management this year alone, right? And that's why we've been able to deploy far and wide in modern management. So extremely proud of what we've done in this area. And as a testament to this, let's talk a little bit more about some of the recent things that we've seen. So today, we have about 30,000 unique apps that are delivered to employees on Workspace ONE. In our intelligence layer, we process about 750 billion events daily that is connected to the devices under management. On the Windows 10 side, we've seen tremendous momentum. We have now about every 16 seconds of Windows 10 devices being activated. We recently announced a couple of months ago that we've accomplished about 1 million Windows 10 device activations in the prior 6 months. And in May, we introduced something called the Dell Technologies Unified Workspace in partnership with Dell. And since then, we've seen tremendous success. We've got hundreds of customers and pilots that are adopting Unified Workspace through a host of services that is getting richer and richer. Now, speaking of Windows 10, the obvious question is Microsoft, because Microsoft clearly owns Windows 10, owns Microsoft 365. So today, we announced a significant milestone in our partnership with Microsoft. And to talk about that, I want to go back a little bit to May when we announced a whole set of partnerships with Microsoft. And since then, Microsoft has continued to make advancements in Windows 10 modernization. Yesterday, they announced at Ignite that they're essentially combining SCCM and Intune into a new solution that they call Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So we've been working with them on their direction and journey. And today we are excited to announce Workspace ONE for Microsoft Endpoint Manager. It's something that we've written about. There's a blog that I posted on that, so please go look at it. But it provides yet another solution for our customers that are going to adopt the Microsoft Endpoint Manager solution. So that's on the Windows side. Now, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another facet of modern management that's around BYO. So we've been supporting BYOD devices for a long time in many facets. We introduced notions of adaptive enrollment. One of the most interesting challenges in BYO is how do you balance this sort of conflict that happens between security from IT, about privacy, which is a concern for obviously the organization, but for the user, and productivity, which is a concern again for both the user and the organization. So how do you balance it out by providing a solution that marries these things in the most optimal manner? So we've been continuing these advances for a long time, but recently, we made more strides in this. Now, one of the things that Apple introduced in iOS 13 was this notion of managed Apple IDs. It essentially allows you to separate personal and work data and essentially use things like identity and access and enforcement of passcode and so on to basically, and the ability to wipe enterprise apps, of course, versus the device, to sort of separate the notions of work and personal data. So we're thrilled to support it as another stride in BYO. Another thing that we've done on the BYO side is work closely with Microsoft to do Office 365 conditional access. This particularly applies, of course, to BYO devices. In a managed device, of course, you can do it in many other ways. But we're thrilled to do that. Conditional access is something that we announced in May, and it's something that we expect to be shipping by end of the year. So we're, again, excited to support these advancements in BYO. But we've taken this to the next step, and today we're thrilled to announce something that we call Workspace ONE Privacy Guard. This is an important thing, and I know in Europe, privacy is a really, really important attribute that you look for in a platform like this. So what we're doing with Privacy Guard, let me explain it a little bit, is that we really protect the user's privacy. So one of the things we are able to do is we're able to look at the settings that IT is looking at and provide that transparently to the user, okay? Now, these settings are under privileged access, and typically it's under the purview of somebody like a chief privacy officer, which, you know, many organizations are either adopting or have adopted, right? And the other thing that Privacy Guard does is when these settings change from the back end, the user can be notified. So it's a very powerful mechanism to ensure the privacy of the user, so that when you have devices under management or just the data under management in a BYO setting, the user is appropriately notified of, you know, what are they subject to and changes thereof. So excited to do that, and that sort of covers some of the innovations we're doing in that space. But we're not done yet with device management. There's one more thing I'd like to talk about. To do that, I'll give it back to Shawn.
Thank you, Shankar. So many of you have been using the Workspace ONE platform to manage a set of spatial computing devices, whether it's augmented reality or virtual reality. We're excited to announce at this conference that we have a new set of virtual reality devices from Oculus, Pico, and Vive that we're going to be supporting on the Workspace ONE platform. And this will allow you to do things like low-touch enrollment, over-the-air configuration, app lifecycle management, all the things that you'd need to do on these devices as if they're the same as someone's mobile phone or laptop device. So what I'd like to do is show you a quick demo of how VMware is utilizing these technologies within our own internal IT environment. Let's run the demo.
At VMware, we're turning science fiction into enterprise reality. We're helping our customers adopt emerging technologies such as spatial computing. Augmented reality and virtual reality are already being used by our customers today across a variety of industries to dramatically increase productivity and the overall employee and customer experience. And VMware Workspace ONE is making it happen, taking real-world solutions from proof of concept to production. With scalable enterprise management for smart glasses and now augmented and virtual reality devices, Workspace ONE provides streamlined onboarding and configuration and simplified app deployment across any spatial computing device. We're building a future that enables secure access to spatial applications running on any device across any cloud, a platform that can lower the cost and improve the effectiveness of training through virtual reality. A platform that will accelerate workforce productivity through augmented workflows and remote assistance. Join with VMware as we build the future digital workspace now.
So when we say any device on the Unified Endpoint Management Platform, we truly mean any device. And we're very excited to have our partnership with Oculus, Pico, and Vive to enhance the capabilities we've already had for AR and VR management within Workspace ONE. VMware internal IT actually has begun over the course of the last year and a half, utilizing virtual reality in the process of onboarding employees. Employees can do a tour of the campus. They can participate in employee all-hands meetings where you have a 360 camera mounted, and the employees can watch the all-hands meeting with the VR goggles and turn around and see their colleagues in the all-hands meeting, even though they're not participating physically at that meeting. So would love for our VMware IT folks to share with you guys the stories of how we're utilizing this technology internally and how you can take advantage of it in your organizations. So coming out of modern management, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about virtual apps and virtual desktops. So we've been a pioneer in this space. You know, VMware created virtual desktop technology in the mid-2000s, and we continue to innovate in our platform as time goes on. And I'd like to say that this evolution of computing, going from local compute all the way to remote apps and virtual desktops and desktop as a service and hybrid VDI, these are all different iterations of the same thing. And as these technologies evolve, it doesn't mean that one replaces the other. There's still many circumstances where you may be using multiple of these technologies to solve different problems. A great example is as you embark upon a zero trust implementation, you'll find that many of your applications don't support modern authentication standards or might rely on legacy protocols. What's a great way to get into modern management and zero trust when you have those types of applications? You put them onto a virtual app server and deliver those applications virtually while you move your users to modern management and modern authentication standards. So it is a great place in the future of how you think about modern management and zero trust. So let's continue on and talk about the movement to cloud. Now, many folks in this room are looking at adopting cloud for their infrastructure, data center workloads, and app dev refactoring of applications. But many of our customers are also looking towards how can I leverage the cloud for virtual desktops and virtual apps, either for disaster recovery purposes or for M&A purposes, or maybe just because I'm out of data center capacity or I can't wait the 8 or 12 weeks it's going to take to order and install and deploy new equipment. So can I move those workloads to the public cloud? And there's a study that was published from Gartner that said by 2023, 30% of the people that are in this room that are using on-premises VDI or app remoting technology will be accessing their workspace in the cloud through desktop as a service. And we've been a pioneer in this space of desktop as a service. We've been doing it for a very long time. We've got some exciting innovation I want to talk through that's going to show you how we're changing the game for hybrid and multi-cloud with virtual desktops and virtual apps. So for years, we've had Horizon 7 on-premises where you can run your virtual desktops and virtual apps in your data center with no cloud connectivity whatsoever. But what we find is as customers start to think about moving into the public cloud, and you might want to go across multiple public clouds, now certain pieces of functionality become challenging for the IT operations team. One of the first things is, how do I actually manage all of this in a multi-cloud environment? If I have to go into 5 different consoles, one for this DAS platform, one for that, one for my on-prem, that's very confusing. How do I monitor the service level capability and the experience my users are getting in that multi-cloud world? And then just logistically from an IT operations point of view, how do I deal with things like image lifecycle management and app lifecycle management? Every time I have to put out a new update of Windows 10, which is coming out as the semi-annual channel every 6 months, how do I manage that across multiple different clouds? And the answer is today, with every other vendor solution, there is no way to do it. You do it times 2, times 3, times 4, whatever many destinations you want to run in. What we've done is introduced a set of Horizon Cloud Management Services that runs a cloud management control plane in the cloud, but allows the workload to exist where you need it based on your cost criteria, based on your data sovereignty criteria, or based on your personal cloud preference. And what we've done is built a set of services, such as our monitoring service that is now generally available, that lets you deploy in Azure, AWS, on-prem, in the future, GCP, Oracle, whatever cloud you choose, and treat that as one unified environment. And we're also delivering a set of innovation around image lifecycle management and app lifecycle management that will allow it to make it easier for IT to roll out these changes in a complex multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environment. So what I want to do is show you a quick example of how this works. Let's run the demo. So in this situation, you're seeing the Horizon Cloud Services console. We've got a set of images that we're going to be deploying into our multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environment. So I'm going to the Win 10 dev image, and I'm going to go in there and specify some basic parameters that image needs to be deployed. And you notice I have this thing called a marker. It's kind of like a tag to indicate that this image is a production deployed image. Now I'm going to go in there and look at the version control. It's currently version 1 of the image, used in production in multiple different data centers. And I'm going to go in there and edit this image type, and I can rev it to a new version. And revving it to that new version will let me update the base image and go in there and make a change to it. Maybe I need to load a new version of Windows. Maybe I need to add some new applications or configurations. So after that image has been published out to my users, I can go back and edit it. We get a little ahead of where this demo is running. This is just configuring the different settings. This is where I define the stream. And in the stream, I'll specify which image type and which data center locations I want to deploy it to. And when I go into the console then, whatever I've configured for destinations, the streaming service will go in and deploy that image automatically and convert it accordingly. Now I can go in and edit the image definition and create a new version 2 image of my existing image, make some changes to it, and allow the console to push those changes to all of my cloud destinations. What we're handling for you in the background is the ability to transport across multiple different clouds without the admin having to do anything. We take care of all the image conversion for the different cloud destinations that you're using. And what you'll notice in the version 2 image, we've got it assigned to multiple different locations, one in AWS and 2 on premises. And now I can change the tag for the version 2 image that I've updated to make it the prod marker. And instantaneously, the Horizon Cloud Services will take the V2 image and activate it in those 3 data center locations, making it very simple for the admin to roll out a change from one base image to another base image just by clicking a few buttons in the console. And Cloud Infrastructure Services takes care of deploying that for you to all of your environments. Now I want to show you a quick example of application lifecycle management. Leveraging our App Volumes technology, we've created a package for Adobe Acrobat Reader. And this existing package is used across multiple different assignments in our production environment today. Now what I want to do is update this to the latest, greatest version of Adobe. So I go in there and indicate this is the latest upgrade of Adobe Acrobat, and now I need to go off to a packaging machine in order to make the changes to the Adobe package so I can propagate it to all of my instances of virtual desktops and virtual apps. So I begin my packaging process, and right through the console, I'm allowed to connect into a packaging machine, and from there, I'm going to execute my sequence of updating Adobe Acrobat for the latest, greatest changes that Adobe has put out for their package. And after this packaging process is complete, we'll automatically complete the package completion and sealing, and we'll store that up into the Horizon Cloud Services console so that the user can then go in, the admin can go in and deploy this change to the entire environment. And just like we showed you the simplification of tagging the image with the production tag, we can go in and set a flag called set current. And when we set this package as the current package version for Adobe Acrobat, that will be propagated to all the instances where the prior version of Adobe Acrobat was deployed. So making it very simple for the IT admin to make changes to software packages that are propagating across multiple public clouds, as well as multiple on-prem pod environments through a couple of clicks of the console, and it's deployed. So what do you guys think about that? Pretty impressive? Now, I can't forget about our great partner in Microsoft. We've done work with Microsoft over the course of the last few years on building a Horizon Cloud service that runs on top of Microsoft Azure. And this is a full desktop as a service offering, meaning that you sign up for the service, you create your Azure tenant, you combine the two together, and you're off and deploying virtual desktops on Microsoft Azure. It's a great solution for customers that have Azure as their strategic cloud, but still want to take advantage of the depth and breadth of capabilities of the Horizon platform. So all the things you expect in terms of rich support for multimedia and peripherals, things like Zoom optimization and Skype for Business or Teams optimization is all built into the platform. And most importantly, built-in support for hybrid deployment scenarios. One of the challenges you have many times doing pure DAS is that you have to run things in one place or the other. You don't have a unified way of deploying on-prem and public cloud, and we deliver that in our offering. And I'm very excited to announce that this quarter, we have a tech preview available for Horizon Cloud on WVD, which is Microsoft's desktop as a service offering built on Azure. So we're launching this in tech preview this quarter with a GA to follow shortly. So I think you've seen a lot of different things that we've done on virtual apps and virtual desktops, specifically to support multi-site on-prem deployments and public cloud and multi-cloud in a hybrid fashion. So Shankar, what do you think about the innovations in virtual desktops and apps?
It's awesome. And I think as you and I both know, this has been an incredible journey for our customers, especially this year. We're seeing many customers sort of move to this multi-cloud model, right? It's certainly been one of the rapidly growing areas of our businesses. So it's interesting. I think the first chart that you painted where you showed the different phases of VDI, I think we're certainly in this sort of mode of hybrid VDI, which is coming to life.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawn. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the fourth pillar of the platform, and that is ZeroTrust Security. So before we get into ZeroTrust Security, let's rewind a little bit to the keynote today. I'm assuming most of you went to the keynote and saw VMware talk about this intrinsic security. which is basically sort of the 3 locks on the side, as both Pat and Sanjay called it, right? This is an important framework for VMware because we're doing it across our data center offerings, we're doing it across our modern apps, and we're certainly doing it across our digital workspace, right? And there are 3 principles here. One is we want to do security that's built in and not bolted on. We want to do something that's intelligent as opposed to disjointed. And certainly we want to do something that's proactive as opposed to reactive. So that's the intrinsic security framework. Now in this space, when we look at the end user computing space, as our customers deploy digital workspaces and so on, the model that's being adopted and we believe is the best model for security is what we call ZeroTrust. And ZeroTrust has existed for a long time. It was popularized by BeyondCorp, which is one of the Alphabet companies, and Google. And more recently, it's caught on, especially with many analysts and many sort of prescriptive ways of deploying ZeroTrust. So let's walk a little bit through what does that mean and why we think it's an excellent model for deploying security in this space. Now, it turns out that Workspace ONE, is used, for many sort of security use cases. I would argue that 30 to 40% of use cases are security driven in this space, especially for us, okay? So we've tried to encapsulate this in the ZeroTrust model. So ZeroTrust model, especially as companies move to a hybrid cloud model and a multi-cloud model, basically assumes that you don't trust the device, you don't trust the user, you don't trust the network that the user is coming from. And essentially what you have to establish and prove in each facet of those is make sure there's validation before you grant the access and before you let the user do whatever they're doing, okay? And in our mind, we're going to start off with, sort of 3 principles that need to be established. The first one is device compliance. So this is making sure that the device is trusted. Sorry, I clicked back. We want to make sure the device is trusted or compliant before you can proceed to the next step. Second, you've got to establish the rights to the apps that the user want and provide the least privileged access for that user to get to what they want. And third is we take advantage of network security or transport security through a variety of technologies that we have baked into the platform. So as an example, we support per app VPN, which is very unique and differentiated. We support microsegmentation or isolation through NSX at the back end. We also support obviously virtualized apps and desktops as a way to access data and applications in a containerized fashion. So you have many facets of ways in which we support this sort of transport security piece, okay? And so by combining device trust, by combining access in a contextual way, combining transport security, we're able to make highly sort of intelligent decisions on what happens on a per situation basis. And the decisions can be, okay, accept the user's request to go access that particular resource. And as I said, provide the least privileged access in sort of the multitude of ways we can sort of get to that resource. Second is we can do step-up authentication or as a challenge to the user if we don't fully trust certain facet, if we think that resource is something that needs to be protected at a higher level. We can remediate, so we can fix the problem. Some of the ways you can remediate is to say the device is not fully trusted or compliant, so perhaps sort of put a certificate on the device or require that the device be enrolled. Or, the last part where you completely reject that request and don't grant the user access and actually notify your SecOps saying that, there's a potential ill intent here. So that is a set of actions that Workspace ONE can do. And so this is a model that we have implemented. We are seeing many customers adopt the model. And so today we're going to talk about a couple of innovations that we're unveiling that enhances this model. So the first thing I want to talk a little bit about is step-up authentication. And this is where we are now introducing sort of built-in multi-factor authentication into the Intelligent Hub. So no need for separate lifecycle management. It's completely built in. It supports biometrics, can also leverage the HR system of record. So this way, multi-factor or step-up authentication is completely built into the product. We're excited about that. I think it is such a core facet of the ZeroTrust model that we're delighted to do this. So these are some of the innovations we've done, but there's more. And to do that, I'm going to hand it back to Shawn to talk a little bit about the alert fatigue problem.
Thank you, Shankar. So a challenge that many of our customers have is that typically they're seeing more than 24,000 alerts per day. And in fact, about 27% of all enterprises are seeing more than 1 million alerts per day. And the challenge with these alerts is many times the security operator or the IT operator can't discern what is truly critical and what is maybe just a alert notification, something that's not necessarily actionable, because many of the systems don't do a great job at discerning the risk level or severity of the issue. And the worst part is the more tools we have, the more number of alerts we get. You know, you got 15 consoles all sending hundreds of alerts. It becomes a very big problem trying to simplify this. The next challenge is how are IT and InfoSec able to keep up with triaging all of these particular alerts, particularly when some of those things have overlap. What I mean by that is the InfoSec team may get a threat intelligence feed that says these particular software components have vulnerabilities and they must be patched in this time frame. And how does that process work today? Many times they prepare an email and they send an email to IT saying, you need to go patch these vulnerabilities. In fact, there was a big breach that occurred last year where the notification of the vulnerability was emailed out to 400 IT operators throughout the global company, and it took them about 3 months to remediate the software updates of those systems. So IT and InfoSec have to be able to work more closely together to make sure that we can solve this issue with alert fatigue and make sure that we're taking action on the things that actually matter, and that we're bridging the divide between IT and InfoSec so that they're working off the same set of data and they're able to hand over actions from one team to the other to make it simpler to remediate these issues without having to bounce things between email or Slack or other mediums. So also we can leverage analytics to make things a lot better. And as Shankar discussed, we already have lots of rich context about the devices and the identity of the user and the types of applications that we're using. But what if we can actually apply machine learning to improve on understanding which of these things are really important, meaning they might be potential outliers or they might be a high severity, and actually keep us focused on what really matters. So for that, we're introducing a new risk analytics with Workspace ONE intelligence that gives us real-time continuous monitoring of all devices, all applications, and all users, giving you visibility into the entire digital workspace. And along those lines, we're also integrating with technologies like NSX and App Defense to build an end-to-end security story that ties together what we know about these users and devices from Workspace ONE and what data center resources they're accessing that NSX and App Defense and vSphere have a lot of visibility and understanding about. And brand new this year as part of that risk analytics is that we've created a new risk scoring. This risk scoring is based on the data that we have about the devices, that context, as well as machine learning to look at certain key attributes about the data that we have to identify, is this something that is a pattern of behavior that is different from most other users that might trigger a higher level of suspicion about whether or not the user is doing something abnormal and whether or not we need to step in and either block access or do remediation if the particular breach has already happened. So let me show you really quickly how this works. So let's run the demo. We've got a person's iPhone device that is a managed BYO device. And in this particular example, this user is going to go in and turn off Find My iPhone. Maybe a perfectly normal thing if they're swapping out their iPhone, but it does present a certain amount of risk that this device can no longer be found or tracked if the device has some corporate information on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this device now and try to access an application like Salesforce. And what you'll see is this pop-up that comes up that says, we have to do two-factor authentication because your device is exhibiting a higher level of risk. Once the user approves with the multi-factor authentication, we'll let them into the application. Now let's compare that to a laptop-desktop scenario. Here we have a user's PC that they receive an email about downloading some of the best free applications for Windows 10. This seems perfectly legitimate, right? So what does the end user do? They click the link to download the bundle of applications. And now you see in Workspace ONE Intelligent Hub, two risk levels that have been noticed there. The first thing is they've been notified by IT 5 times to update their version of Windows to the latest corporate standard, and they've deferred that update. In addition, the device risk score of the laptop they're using at this moment has a high elevated risk associated with it that was probably due to the action that they had just taken. From an administrator point of view, we can look at the risky devices view in the console. This will show us cross-platform, iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and it shows us things like people that are deferring updates, risky settings on the devices, unusual applications we haven't seen before, or compulsive app download, meaning that somebody downloaded more applications in the last 24 hours than 99% of the rest of the organization, and this behavior seems odd. So what we're going to do is drill down on Peter's Dell XPS here. We see it as a high risk score, and that risk score is coming from 3 different factors. The fact that they've delayed the update to the new corporate standard, the fact that they have done compulsive app downloads, downloading those 30 applications, and one of our Trust Network partners, Carbon Black, has found two unusual processes on this person's device. Now what we can do is build an automation to go remediate this issue. So in this case, it's a high-risk user. We're going to send a ServiceNow ticket to the IT operations or security operations team, letting them know that this device has risky behavior and that we're kicking off a remediation sequence. And then they can follow up to make sure that this device has been remediated. In addition, we're going to send the user a push notification to their laptop saying, we've identified that your device is risky. We are eliminating access to the corporate data center via our tunnel technology, or maybe we're going to block you from access to the Workspace ONE catalog in order to protect you from going into corporate applications and downloading data from our corporate environments. So this is a very simple automation to illustrate what can be done combining the power of Workspace ONE and our risk analytics. Now, risk analytics on its own is not going to solve all the problems. And you might have seen in our demo, we pulled in that data from Carbon Black. When Carbon Black was a Trust Network partner, we announced them a year ago as a Trust Network partner, and we integrated the data from Carbon Black to surface their risk data in our Workspace ONE Intelligence Console. But many of you have heard a couple of weeks ago that we completed the closure of acquisition of Carbon Black and is now a member of the VMware family. So now as a member of the VMware family, we can do even more interesting things than just share security threat data. We can take advantage of Carbon Black's next generation antivirus and EDR or endpoint detection and response technology to actually improve our ability to very rapidly respond to changing security conditions and not have to rely on exchanging threat data between 2 partners, but build a truly integrated solution to enhance our ability to detect anomalies and remediate them on the device very quickly integrated into Workspace ONE. So I'm pleased to introduce that we have hit the ground running on the integration of the 2 companies. We have a new integrated offer that combines the best of Workspace ONE, leveraging our Workspace ONE Intelligence platform, and the best of Carbon Black, leveraging their Carbon Black Defense EDR platform and next-gen antivirus, and the LiveOps technology, which is a real-time endpoint query and response capability. These are all being put together to build optimized detection and response, and to leverage the risk data that Carbon Black knows about the devices from a security point of view with the risk and compliance data that we have in Workspace ONE. We think this is going to have an offer to customers that can truly start to simplify the number of management and security agents that are running on their devices. We have spoken to several customers that say, I have 10, 15, 30 different management and security agents, and it's killing my employee productivity. I need something simpler, and that's what we're doing with Carbon Black to provide a much better user experience, much lower overhead of these resources. And we think it's going to really work out great for customers to deliver a secure compute experience devoid of all of this extra overhead and complexity. So with that, we're bringing management and security together. We think you're going to love having access to real-time query to detect and respond to changing security conditions. And with that, I want to talk about one last thing, and that is, integrating with Carbon Black is a great story because it's all now first-party VMware technology. But we know the folks in this room aren't only going to have technology from VMware for management and security. You're also going to have next-gen firewall technology and cloud access security broker technology and mobile threat defense technology. And that's why we built Workspace ONE Trust Network as a way to integrate these third-party security technologies. And we're proud to announce we have a brand new API for data ingestion with Trust Network that enables these third parties to very quickly supply data into Trust Network to expand the scope of all the different third-party ecosystem partners you can integrate with in those different security disciplines to augment the things we can already do first party with Workspace ONE and Carbon Black. And we think it's going to be a really exciting partnership with the entire ecosystem of security providers, combining together their strength with our strength. So with that, Shankar, what do you think of all the security innovations?
Awesome. Awesome. I think we've come a long way in sort of enabling the Zero Trust Security model, and now with Carbon Black and Trust Network and some of the risk analytics scores we've innovated on, I think it's a complete solution for our customers. Thank you, Shawn.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that brings us to the end of the 4 pillars of the platform. And towards the end of the presentation, I want to quickly summarize that what you saw here was an industry first in terms of the digital workspace integrated virtual assistant, physical access, and MFA all built in. The industry first and cross-platform, truly digital employee experience management that I talked about, the hybrid cloud innovations on Horizon and desktop as a service that Shawn showed, and then some of the leading things that we have. As I said, we are by far the leading cross-platform endpoint management platform. We've got an OEM integrated digital workspace, certainly starting with Dell. And the last thing that we showed, the integrated risk scoring, is certainly industry leading. So we're delighted, we're proud, we're thankful to all the customers in this room and the rest of the geos for supporting us and being with us on this journey as we strive to build the best digital workspace platform in the industry. So as we close, a couple of things, but don't leave yet, because I have one last very interesting announcement for you in just a minute or so. But before I get there, a quick thing. Brian Madden, who is part of Shawn's team, is going to be talking at a deep tech level, so don't miss his talk. If you haven't listened to him, he's a fantastic speaker, and I'm sure you'll enjoy him. So that's coming up here in about an hour or so, hour and a half. Also, please fill out your survey. It's important for us as we continue to sort of improve this content and future presentations. And so that brings us to the end of the presentation. And towards the end, I'm delighted to announce that we have 3 Oculus Quest VR headsets to give away. So look under your seat. You could be a winner of one of these headsets. Thank you very much for being here and participating. Appreciate it.